When you take a bitter, livid old man and make him wait until 11 or 12 o'clock at night on a Monday night to give a bizarre, bitter, angry speech, this is what happens.
Women are not without electoral.
It was, hey, move over, Abraham Lincoln. That was like 7 years ago, right? That was one of the all-time Look, I didn't suffer through it. My friend Mark Davis is in such a foul mood this morning and today and all day long. He's just livid. He could not believe the lies, and they did. They lied over and over and over again. And the whole thing is a lie. The whole thing is a scam. All of it is based on a foundational lie that Joe Biden dug deep into his soul and decided to pass the torch to Kamala. It wasn't any torch passing. Like Chris Wallace put on Fox News, they threw him out the window. Here was Chris Wallace with a rare moment of candor from CNN, some integrity over the analysis of what we're witnessing this week in Chicago.
The word that everybody is using to describe tonight is bittersweet. It's just bitter. The fact of the matter, I'm not saying Joe Biden is bitter, but, it's like you've been thrown out a window, and as you're falling, you go, gee, it's nice out here. No, he got thrown out of a window, and basically he was forced. There's going to be a lot of talk tonight about how generous it was of him and selfless of him. He was basically forced out by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
And Wolf Blitzer sat there completely mute because you can't argue with that. You can't disagree with that. You can't dispute it. Nancy Pelosi admitted this week that she did what she had to do. If this was Joe Biden's decision, what role did Nancy Pelosi have to play? Virtually zero. It wasn't Joe Biden's decision. He's an angry old man who just suffered one of the most embarrassing, humiliating defeats of his entire life. He took great joy in calling Trump a loser. We'll see what happens November the 5th. But one thing we can say with 100% confidence, the biggest loser in America right now is Joe Biden. The guy was indeed thrown out the window. He was kicked to the curb. They pushed him down the steps. For a woman who to this day, in her role as the Democrat nominee, to this day hasn't given the first media interview or held a press conference. Not one. Not one. And the media is so shameful, they act like it's normal, and they're not pushing back. That, to me, is one of the funniest aspects of this entire crap show, this dumpster fire called the Democrat National Convention and their entire three-ring circus. The media is being played by Kamala. She won't give them the time of day. And they've lost any sense of self-worth or dignity or self-respect to the point where they're willing to go along with it. Okay, sure. No, you don't want to talk to us? We'll still paint these portraits and throw you on the cover of Time magazine. You don't want to give us an interview? That's all right. We're going to talk about your joyful approach. Joy. Then nothing screams joy like, free abortions and vasectomies and Israel-hating rioters breaking down the walls outside the United Center. Incidentally, they're having an emergency meeting this hour because these pro-Hamas terrorist sympathizing rioters are threatening to, quote, shut down the convention. But that's okay. You got to show your ID 8 different times to get into the United Center. So they'll make sure you are who you say you are when you go to the convention. You see, in Democrat world, it's okay to prove that you are who you say you are to go hear Amy Klobuchar speak or AOC, but not to cast your ballot. You don't need an ID then. It doesn't work that way. How about Maureen Dowd, the New York Times most prominent opinion writer? She's completely flip-flopped on the coup. She's now joining the chorus of editorial boards Weeks ago, she was right there with them all. Get out, Joe, get out. She wrote a story 3 or 4 weeks ago saying, Lord Almighty, Joe, let it go. Everyone wants Joe Biden gone. Well, this week, she writes another column with the headline, The Dems are delighted, but a coup is still a coup. Maureen Dowd writes in the New York Times, she explained her flip-flop, I guess, in Shakespearean terms. She said it wasn't exactly Julius Caesar in Rehoboth Beach, but it was a tectonic shift. And of course, there were going to be serious reverberations, even though it was the right thing to do, because Biden was not going to be able to campaign, much less serve. In a fully vital way, it was a jaw-dropping push. P-U-T-S-C-H. Yeah, they're really unified. Jesse Waters summed this up perfectly on The Five. This is how unified they are. Listen to the guy on The Five, Jesse Waters, on Fox News, describe what unity is really like within the Democrat Party.
So this ridiculous flattery is so insulting to the American people that this guy should be on Mount Rushmore. It's created this huge credibility gap now in the Democrats. Like, no one believes in Kamala Harris 9.0. No one believes the economy's good. No one believes these polls are real. You're saying, oh, kumbaya, everybody loves each other. Jessica's talking about unity. The Obamas hate Biden. Biden hates the Obamas. He hates Pelosi. The Clintons hate everybody. 10,000 people are out in the street, the Democrats saying Kamala's a killer. And then all weekend, the press called Kamala an economic moron for price controls. This is not, as Biden would say, it's malarkey.
Perfect analysis of the 2024 Democrat National Convention and the state of the Democrat Party. Don't believe the legacy media. They are in complete and utter chaos. They're at each other's throats. It's why Biden pieced out of there. He didn't stand for the convention. People like Fetterman and Shapiro boycotting the convention. The Clintons aren't going. They're not going every night. It's a mess. Where's Barack Obama? Are the Obamas going to be there all week? You'd think they'd all be there to bask in all the glory and the adulation. And I settled in last night in front of the TV. I thought, I got to do this. I'm a talk show host. I'm expected to watch this thing. I mean, they almost wanted me to go. And I thought, oh, Lord, no, I'm not going to go to Chicago. Please don't send me into that hellscape called the Democrat National Convention with the filthy abortion van outside and the vasectomy van and the anti-Semitic, Jew-hating, terrorist-loving, filthy, degenerate protesters by the thousands outside. No, thank you. I'll stay on my living room couch. And I tried to watch, and I got about 25, 30 minutes in, and I just realized, why am I infuriating myself? Why am I witnessing these kind of lies and thinking that's normal? Listen to these kind of lies. Here, lie after lie. And the liar in chief was this bitter, rage-filled old man, the loser, the ultimate loser, Joe Biden.
Then I had to take executive action. The result of the executive action I took, border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office.
He's taking pathetic, the word pathetic, to stratospheric heights. How embarrassing for him. How humiliating. How mortifying. How about this lie? And this is what infuriated my friend Mark Davis. I've never heard him that fired up. He was so passionate this morning. He was so angry, so revved up. He watched the whole thing, watched Biden's speech. If I'd have watched Biden's speech in real time, I'd have been up all night. I don't do well. I don't go to bed angry. If my Denise and I would have an argument, I could never sleep because I can't go to bed mad. I can't do. I would have been up all night after hearing this garbage lie. You keep in mind, the very fine people lie has been thoroughly debunked. Even Snopes, the left-leaning fact-checking website, completely vindicated Trump. Trump never called white nationalists and neo-Nazis very fine people. Biden claims his entire presidency was based on Trump calling neo-Nazis very fine people. And it's just one of the many lies they've told about Trump over and over again. Oh, Trump called all Mexicans rapists. Oh, Trump told people to go riot on January 6th. Trump said this, Trump said that. Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people. Here was Biden repeating the lie again last night.
When the president was asked what he thought had happened, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There are very fine people on both sides. My God." That's what he said. That is what he said and what he meant. That's when I realized, had listened to the admonition of my dead son, I could not stay in the sidelines. Democracy has delivered. And now democracy must be preserved.
Yeah, nothing screams democracy like you getting pushed out the window, old man. Golly. And invoking the image of his late son in the middle of that lie? You know, I'd like to say I'm a fairly spiritual person. When you lie and put a dead family member in the middle of the lie like that, I don't think God approves. I don't think God approves. The whole world knows by now what Trump said about Charlottesville. The protests in Charlottesville were over the removal of Confederate statues. And Trump was accurately pointing out that there are real fine people on both sides of the debate over the removal of Confederate statues. There are plenty of fine people who don't believe that tearing down statues of Confederate generals is very productive. And of course, Trump was referring to the people on both sides of that very spirited debate about Confederate memorials and statues. And see, the worst part of all, Biden knows it. The most disgusting aspect of this is that Biden knows it too. We pushed this man out because we figured he can't win. He can't beat this enormously popular Republican nominee. So we, as Chris Wallace put it, we threw him out the window. You got to hear the Chris Wallace clip, too, from CNN, because this sums up perfectly what the Democrats did to Joe Biden.
The word that everybody is using to describe tonight is bittersweet. It's just bitter. The fact of the matter, I'm not saying Joe Biden is bitter, but, you know, it's like you've been thrown out a window, and as you're falling, you go, gee, it's nice out here. No, he got thrown out of a window, and basically he was forced. There's going to be a lot of talk tonight about how generous it was of him and selfless of him. He was basically forced out by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Pelosi admitted it. Pelosi said it. Pelosi gave an interview this week where she said, I did what I had to do. What does that mean? If Joe Biden dug deep into his soul, if Joe Biden said, I got to save democracy, well, then why did Pelosi have to do what she said she had to do? Of course it was a coup. Nobody's believing that Joe Biden made the decision on his own. Nobody thinks he dug deep into his soul. And if you're frustrated, remember something. Biden has delighted in calling Trump a loser over 2020. The ultimate loser now is Joe Biden. Joe Biden lost big time. Joe Biden has been humiliated by Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, Nancy Pelosi, the whole Barack Obama, because Chris is right. They threw him out the window. They threw him down the steps. They kicked him to the curb. They took him out like yesterday's garbage. And he knows it. That's why he's not staying at the convention. That's why he yelled and lied. I mean, and the lie about the fine people hoax, You know, they love to fact check Donald Trump. They always love to claim President Trump lies and lies and lies. Even the left-leaning fact check website Snopes thoroughly debunked the claim that Trump ever called white supremacists fine people. And yet, this bitter, shrill, vicious, nasty, angry old man couldn't help but repeat the lie one more time.
When the president was asked what he thought had happened, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There are very fine people on both sides. My God." That's what he said. That is what he said and what he meant. That's when I realized, had listened to the admonition of my dead son, I could not stay in the sidelines. Democracy has delivered. And now democracy must be preserved.
My Lord, man can't even say the word democracy. He's in such bad shape. And he threw everything at the wall that time. The dead son, democracy, fine people, lie after lie. He stood up there and said that border crossings are lower under his administration than Trump's. I'm sure he mentioned the economy's better now, right? I couldn't watch it. Couldn't do it. I made it about 30 minutes in, and I said, nope, not going to subject myself to this kind of a garbage night. I got better things to do. I made a campaign contribution to the Trump campaign. I read a book for a couple hours, and I went to bed. One of the many lies spouted last night at the DNC. Oh, Joe's passing the torch. The tears. What are they crying about? Why in the world are they crying about what they did to Joe Biden? Wouldn't you think they'd be satisfied? What's with the tears? I understand his tears. I understand Dr. Jill's tears. Why are people in the crowd crying? I mean, all of it. I am so glad I'm not as angry as my pal Mark Davis is today. Mark watched the whole thing last night. And that's why he's in such a foul mood today. And I just told myself, I'm not going to put myself through this. I just love the complete lack of self-awareness. You got to hear this clip. This is a good one. This is a Michigan senator named Mallory McMorrow. Now, this is good stuff. When they say things out loud and they think they've got like a dig going on here, they think it's a criticism, and we hear it and we say, well, yeah. It shows how completely oblivious they are to reality. Check out Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow last night.
If Donald Trump gets back into the White House, he's going to fire civil servants like intelligence officers, engineers, and even federal prosecutors if he decides that they don't serve his personal agenda.
Oh, no, don't do that. Please, not that. Don't throw me in that briar patch. He's going to fire intelligence officers? No. No, tell me it isn't so. There was also apparently an ad. I don't even know if I want to play it. Do I want to play 21, guys? The DNC ad that warns that if abortion isn't legal, babies might die? I mean, I see the headline of it. Is it going to sicken the audience? You know, Tracy said, is it important to play, though? Should we play it? I mean, this is how stupid they are. They're so, and again, the word comes to mind, wicked. This is wicked stuff. Hey, if you don't make abortion legal, babies may die. This is an actual video, evidently, that aired during night one of the Democrat National Convention.
This is one of our willow boxes. This was the outfit that she was gonna maybe wear home from the hospital. Here's her little... the blanket that she was in.
It's okay. No.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
I was punished for 3 days having to wait for either my baby to die or me to die or both. I was stuck in this horrific hell of both wanting to hear her heartbeat and also hoping I wouldn't.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
I almost died because doctors were forced to follow Trump's abortion ban. Kamala will protect a woman's right to choose.
We trust women to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
I have so much faith in her.
And when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms as President of the United States, I will sign it into law.
We have to fight for Kamala Harris, our rights, our freedoms, and frankly, our lives. Everything is on the line.
There you go. Legalize abortion or else babies and moms are going to die. They don't even recognize the absurdity of what they say. They don't even recognize it. We're seeing the ugliness, the underbelly of the Democrat Party in a profound way. And this whole, what made me turn it off last night was I could not take the scam of pretending that the Democrats are unified. Jesse Waters summed this up on The Five last night perfectly.
So this ridiculous flattery is so insulting to the American people that this guy should be on Mount Rushmore. It's created this huge credibility gap now in the Democrats. Like, no one believes in Kamala Harris 9.0. No one believes the economy's good. No one believes these polls are real. You're saying, oh, kumbaya, everybody loves each other. Jessica's talking about unity. The Obamas hate Biden. Biden hates the Obamas. He hates Pelosi. The Clintons hate everybody. 10,000 people are out in the street, the Democrats saying Kamala's a killer. And then all weekend, the press called Kamala an economic moron for price controls. This is not, as Biden would say, it's malarkey.
What a great assessment by one of the rising stars over at Fox News. Jesse sometimes just knocks it out of the park. He often does. And he's right. They all hate each other. Why do you think Biden left? They've got a seat in the state of Delaware because he's a delegate reserved for him. You think he's staying? He's out of there. Where's Josh Shapiro? Is he at the convention? Oh, that's right. He's enraged that he got passed over to be Kamala's vice presidential running mate, which would have been a logical choice because he's Jewish. They can't have a Jew on the ticket. Are you kidding me? You got a bunch of Jew haters, thousands of them outside the convention center right now. Kamala doesn't dare pick a Jew to be her vice presidential running mate, so he's not there. Where's Fetterman? Pennsylvania, a really important state, right? Fetterman's there, right? Oh, he's not? What's that you tell me? John Fetterman is boycotting his own convention, the Democrats' convention? Yeah, there's not any unity. You want unity, you had to go to Milwaukee. The Republican Party is as unified as I've ever seen the Republican Party. The only people squawking are the never-Trumpers and the ex-Republicans who can't stand the populism streak of today's Republican Party. This is not your father's GOP. And they hate it. The establishment folks can't stand it. They can't stand it. There is change coming. And the good news is that we'll get through this week. She'll get the post-convention bump. They'll christen her speech the most glorious speech in the history of speeches. Incidentally, my friend Mark Davis insists that Kamala Harris's speech is going to be dreadful and terrible and awful, and I keep trying to bring him back to earth. Mark, that's wishful thinking. No, it won't. She can read a teleprompter. Heck, I know how to read a teleprompter. It ain't hard to read it. Some people don't do a good job on a teleprompter. Ask Al Sharpton. A teleprompter is Al Sharpton's worst enemy. He has trouble reading a teleprompter. But most people with a reasonable modicum of intelligence can read a teleprompter. You look up, they got these big glass reflectors. The words are there in big, bold letters. And they even tell you, as we found out from Biden, end of quote, pause. Sometimes they read it out loud. But it's not hard to read a teleprompter. She'll read the prompter. She'll read the speech. She'll deliver the speech. And Mark thinks, oh, it'll be awful. It'll be terrible. It's going to be the worst speech in the history. No, it won't. No, it won't. We got to suffer through this week. Although I will admit, I don't think I can go back. I'm not going back. It felt so good to turn it off last night and turn my show over to my capable team who can provide clips. I'll read the analysis. I'm not going to torture myself. I often describe people in my audience who don't like me at all, who hate me and disagree with me, and they call the show over and over again. And they write emails incessantly, or they text. I often describe them, and this is a very apt description, of people who take a 2x4 and they just hit themselves over the head. I mean, why would you torture yourself? If you don't like common sense, right of center, pro-military, pro-border security, pro-police, sovereignty of this country, if you don't like that kind of content, why would you listen? Why would you watch? Why would you call? Take a 2x4, hit yourself over the head over and over again. It'll be more productive. That's what I would be doing to watch this convention. They're full of lies and deceit. It's a scam. Biden's entire premise that he ran because Trump said something that Trump never said is a disgraceful, deceitful, damnable lie. Why would I hit myself over the head with a 2x4? What I did last night was I turned the TV off, I made a contribution to the Trump campaign, and I read a good book. And I'm just fine with that.